Good afternoon, everybody. Dave Carter here from Flower Hill Institute, and we're going to wait just a minute here while folks come in out of the waiting room and join us. So then we'll get started here. So give us a few seconds to get started. All right, I guess we'll get underway here. So yeah, good afternoon or good morning if you're in the Pacific time zone. I'm Dave Carter, Regional Director for Flower Hill Institute. I'm usually joined on these sessions by my fellow regional director, Chris Roper, but Chris is about 30,000 feet in the air going back to Missouri from South Dakota right now. So I'm flying solo today on this, but we've got a great topic today, and we've got really two good experts to join us to talk about the development and growth and the opportunities for folks under the USDA remote beef grading system. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items here is that this is being recorded and will be archived in our toolkit. So if you want to go back and refer to something or someone wasn't able to join us today and they want the information, they can download that um, probably by tomorrow. Nicole does a great job getting those posted. You'll also, if you want to ask questions, and we encourage you to do that, type them into the Q&A box, not the chat, but the Q&A box. And Nikki and I will be monitoring those as we go along. And as soon as those start coming in, we'll pass those along to Jody and Brad. Then also there's going to be a 2-question survey that you'll get immediately after this. We always do that. First of all, we want to know how this session went. Give us your feedback on that. But we also want your ideas of what you'd like us to cover moving forward. Chris and I try and do one or two of these a month, and we want to make sure that we're covering topics that are really important to smaller processors wherever you are. So, with that, I am going to ask our two guest experts here to give a brief introduction, and then we'll jump into it. So, Jody, I've known you the longest, so I'm going to let you start.
Okay, thank you, David. I really appreciate it. Be sure to tell Chris, send Chris my um, thanks as well. It's a great opportunity. Flower Hill and the Agriculture Marketing Service, Livestock and Poultry Programs have partnered on many, many projects over the years. And so it's always a pleasure when we get to work with you in endeavors like this. So I'm Jody Pitcock. I'm with the Livestock and Poultry Programs. I'm an agriculture marketing specialist. And currently, since basically the 1st of November, I've taken over the day-to-day activities of managing the Livestock and Poultry's remote grading program. I have 35 years of government service, started out as a grader, spent many years as a market reporter, done some work in now I'm working in our standards and specification division. And at one point in time, I was the liaison between USDA and our cattle carcass training centers, where I got to meet Dave and do a lot of work with Dave on that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thanks, Jody. And Brad, you and I only met recently here, but go ahead and introduce yourself because I think our paths crossed in the
Uh-huh.
1990s as
That's
we
right.
talked yesterday. Yep.
That's right. Thanks, Dave. My name is Dr. Brad Morgan. I live in Stillwater, Oklahoma. You can see underneath my name, it says Suspended Fresh Foods. I work for a company that we started about 12 years ago called IQ Foods. We have a process called Suspended Fresh. Actually, the remote grading topic, I work with that particular, what we're going to talk about today. We have a small packing plant in southeastern Oklahoma, down by Broken Bow, Oklahoma, called Three Rivers Meat Packing. We've partnered with the Choctaw Nation on that. And again, we implemented the remote grading from day one. We've been up and running now for right at 2 years. So most of my comments today will be my experiences that I've had with remote grading in that particular facility.
Thanks, Brad. So let's just jump right into it. So Jody, I'm going to toss it out to you to start off and just give folks an overview, a brief overview of the remote beef grading program and how it operates, some of the costs involved.
Yes. So the remote grading, as some of you may or may not know, it was actually an initiative by USDA to provide grading service to the small and very small processors during a time when supplies were, supplies were tight. Give these small, local, very small processors an opportunity to um, advertise and sell their product as graded by that unbiased third party. And so, with today's technology and the advancements in technology, we started out as a pilot program that eventually moved into a program utilizing basically basic cell phone service. And so, the way the remote grading works is once you're approved, you apply for an application, you're approved. There's an onboarding, and we come out and we show you how to capture the images, properly rib a carcass, all the things involved for our graders to assess that quality and to provide the greatest opportunity for that product to meet its potential in grade. And so there's a cost associated with that. We tell people, depending on where it's at, when it's at, if we couple it with others in the area, you're looking at somewhere around a $1,500 to $3,000 to $3,000 for that on-site remote grading cost. Okay, then so what we do in this is you take an image with your cell phone. We provide you a hood that is a 3D printed plastic hood that helps with a lighting source so you can keep the lighting consistent. If you look at my background or if you look at the pictures, you can see you're actually looking at those images of that ribeye and that thoracic vertebrae through that hood system. You get those pictures, then you upload them into a secure cloud vault. And that secure cloud vault is only associated with you. Your company is the only one that can access that other than our graders. Then our grader, which is setting remote, and right now we currently got a couple of graders that are setting in Grand Island, Nebraska, that are viewing those pictures and assigning those grades. And once they assign those grades, they send you an email back saying, these carcasses X, Y, and Z graded this. At that time, you will be provided some grade tag, or you'll have some grade tags that are provided to you, and you'll put those on the carcass. So if it's graded prime, you'd put a prime tag on there. It's got a serial number. You would capture another image and upload it for that grade verification. So the grading cost runs around $123, or it is $123 an hour. It's at the unscheduled rate for service, for grading service. Typically, we tell folks that we can grade 15 to 20 carcasses an hour. So we have a minimum right now of a half an hour that would be 6150. And then each month, when you submit grading, we also conduct a half an hour oversight where we go in and view the records to make sure that the carcasses you have listed as match the grade and for inventory purposes. And then once a year, we will conduct what we call a yearly review. And on these yearly reviews, we visit your plant. They take about 2 hours. We basically just review the grading equipment that is provided to you, how you're keeping that equipment secure. If you have carcasses there, we'll oversee or watch or observe you performing the process to see if we're seeing if there's anything that we can do to maybe help, maybe get better images. At that time, we'll talk about any issues that we may have seen in imaging capture. And then we will also verify by pulling a random sample of cut sheets and maybe invoices of product that was graded and product that was uh, moved out the door. And those come with a cost as well, about $1,500 to $3,000 a visit. They're once a year very similar to the onboarding cost. And as you know, the USDA Agriculture Marketing Service grading service is a fee for service program. Therefore, we are required by law to recover our costs associated with these grading programs. That includes the travel cost as well. So that gives you pretty much of a big overview of the cost. Where are we at today? If Nicole will go ahead and show the map, you'll see that we're scattered pretty much all over the United States. We're currently within 30 states across the country. We we have 87 plants. As of right now, we have 87 plants enrolled. We started out as a pilot in 2013. 2014, we launched the program after.
Let me correct you, Jody. It's 2023 and 24.
23.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
got me.
you haven't been around that long. Yep.
Yeah, 2023. Excuse me. 2023. It was a pilot, and then in 2024, in early 2024, we launched it as a program. We started getting a lot of requests and inquiries about the program after former Secretary mentioned it at industry trade meeting, and so full-blown launched as a program. We have graded so far over 18,800 head through the program since 2023. Nicole, you can go ahead and go to that last slide. And then of those 18,000 head, 87% of them qualify for a grade. You can see the breakdown of what that looks like. And everybody's like, well, where's that other 13%? Well, those 13% for some reason did not qualify for a grade. Either they, maturity, low quality, maybe bloodshot, something was wrong with it. But as you can see, it's pretty good response. Over 4,000 head of cattle have been certified under one of the certification programs, one of the government certification G1 or G schedules. Majority of those are participating in what we call the G1, which is the Certified Angus Beef Ranch to Table, or Farm to Table, Ranch to Table programs. And with those, we can reach out and we can talk more about those. But that's pretty much where we've been, where we're at now. Currently, we do have several more. I'm projecting that before the end of the year, and probably not too much more, we're going to be hitting over that 100 plant mark, David.
That's great. And, one of the things I talk to folks about, you mentioned that, AMS is required to recover their travel time and the like, and a lot of smaller processors are at least a couple hours away from their nearest grader. And you think about 4 hours of travel at $123 an hour before they even look at that first carcass. That's just put their grading program out of the reach of most smaller processors. So, this has been a great development. And I was there the day that the secretary announced that in early 24. And I know you guys weren't sure if you were ready to go prime time yet, but I think you've done a pretty good job. So, Brad, you mentioned, in your introduction that you're involved with a smaller plant down in Oklahoma that uses a remote beef grading program. And talk a little bit about, what you found in terms of the value and utilization of the program.
Okay. Thank you very much, David. I'll be very brief in my comments, but I'll be very pointed with my comments. We are 100% in support of this program. It is excellent. David, you mentioned being close to a grader. The closest grader to Three Rivers Meat Company in southeast Oklahoma would be Amarillo, Texas, somewhere, or Ark City, Kansas. We're talking about between 5 and 8 hours drive each way. And Jody, that paying for that would not be feasible, of course, but we'd be paying more for the grader to come there and grade a carcass than what the carcass is actually worth. So again, number two, we have secured a lot of business from producers because of the grading program that we have. We have offered this program. We don't try to make money off of it. We don't do it for free. We cover our costs. I'll be honest with you. We charge $20 a carcass to get the carcass data. With that said, I also summarize all the pictures that we submit to the to Jody and his group. We give those to the producers as well. So whenever they come there to pick up their meat from our Three Rivers, not only do they get an invoice, not only do they give account of what all we have and what they should have, but they also will get pictures and a grade data summary sheet. That way they can tell, and we also make sure and record each ear tag on there, not just carcass 1, 2, 3, or 4. We give that ear tag to them as well. We've actually gone one step further now, too, in that if they would like to get more information, a lot of people in our area of the country, they may have 100 cows out there, and they might be running 2 or 3 bulls in the same pasture. So that's pretty common, actually. So what we will actually do, too, is whenever we're getting this grade data, we partner with another company that I used to work with some when I was at Performance Food Group. It's a DNA company. We take a little wand, and just like whenever you would scratch the inside of your mouth to take a DNA sample, if you were a human being, we just go right across the ribeye. After we've taken the pictures, we don't want to touch the ribeye until we've submitted those pictures. And that way we can tell exactly what the father of that particular calf is. That way they get great information on a per bull basis. We were laughing a little bit yesterday, but this is honest to gosh truth. You have 112, I think is what this guy had, cows. He had 3 bulls out there, and he found out, number one of the bulls that was the best from a marbling standpoint on paper. That's great, but the only problem that we found is of the 112 cows, he actually bred 12 of those cows. The other 2 bulls were doing the majority of the work. So that type of information is important to know, but they actually make breeding decisions based off of some of this carcass data as well. The last thing I'll say is this: anytime we're able to certify one of these carcasses as certified Angus beef or certified Angus prime beef, we're able to put a little sticker on each one of those packages from that carcass. These people have these branded beef programs. One of them is in Durant, Oklahoma, the Jackson Cattle Company. They will actually merchandise this product as certified Angus beef. They sell a lot of this beef in the Frisco, Texas, and Denton, Texas, McKinney, Texas area. And whenever they are able to talk about certified Angus beef, they will actually receive a premium of between $300 and $400 per carcass based on the fact that it is a certified Angus beef carcass. So with obviously rewards like that, financial rewards like that, breeding decisions, all things like that, the $20 fee for getting this great information, they feel like it's a bargain. The last thing I'll say is this: we don't slaughter as many as we would like to slaughter right now because of the nature of our industry. With that said, we hang the carcasses for 14 days. We'll actually take 2 weeks worth of carcasses, and we'll submit all of those on a Thursday or a Friday. If I submit these carcasses by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Dave, I'm able to get the carcass data by 8 o'clock the next morning. So in other words, it works out real well. I get the information. I'm able to line the carcasses up for fabrication based off of grade. We fabricate from prime, certified Angus beef, choice, and then anything else that's left over. I am the one, probably, Jody, that contributed to some of those carcasses that fell out because they didn't grade for some reason or another. I think sometimes, though, that's more important sometimes than telling a producer, well, this particular carcass graded prime. I think it's really important for them to understand, that particular mating that I made, I don't need to make it anymore because that particular carcass graded standard. Or maybe that particular carcass did not have very much fat on it. In other words, in the real world, that carcass has cost me a tremendous amount of money. But we go ahead and grade everything. I go ahead and submit everything, knowing that some of these carcasses are not going to be able to grade choice or higher. But that's important for these producers to get that information as well.
That's very helpful, Brad. And that's one of the things that has been a huge learning for me, because when this came about, I was just focused on this is going to give these processors a chance to go into the marketplace with graded product, which beforehand just the big guys were able to do that. But the ability to provide suppliers and your producers with that type of real-time feedback on quality and which bulls are performing I think is just a crucial. And I'm not a math wizard, but even I can do $20 cost versus $300 benefit, pretty
Mhm.
significant. So, Jody, let me swing back to you a bit here. Now you've got 2+ years under your belt. What are some of the changes that have been implemented since this program was rolled out?
Okay, well, so I think we got several things that we're working on right now. We're starting to get enough data that we can look at, that we're starting to look at, what's that time factor? One of the questions was how long does it take for graders to turn that around? What's that cost factor per head? Et cetera, et cetera. So there's some things that we're looking at there as well. I think the one thing that I'm pretty excited about is going forward. We're in the process right now of working on a mobile app using a cell phone. Currently, you use your cell phone, you have the hood, you take a picture, you have to download that picture to your computer, or that's what I'd have to do. But if you're somebody that's got more technical experience, you can probably do it from your phone. But then you have to upload those, you have to email them into us, let us know that they're ready. Then the grader goes in and grades them, sends you an email back saying carcass XYZ graded choice, carcass 123 graded prime. So there's a lot of emailing, uploading, going back and forth. Well, what this app's going to allow the processor to do is open up that app, capture the two required images. It'll be time stamped with a date and time, put a tag number in, a weight in, capture the two images. You can go to the next carcass, capture all your images, and you can submit them all at one time. Then that will go up to what we call the graders app, which the grader has their own app that's on their computer, and then that'll flag and it'll show a time. The time starts, and they have 24 hours to get those cattle turned around, get those cattle graded, and get them back to you. And then they'll grade them. Once they grade, they'll play a grade. Then that automatically sends you back the grade as the producer. Then the next thing you do is you go put your grade tag on, take your verification photo, upload it. Voila, you're done.
Great.
I've been playing around with the camera. I've been playing around with the app in kind of some real world, and I less than a minute I can get all my data. Less than a minute per carcass, I can get all my data pictures taken. And so there's probably, and Brad, I think you can probably attest to this. Probably right now, the hardest part of the program is the image capturing, because there's two images that are required. We've got to have that carcass tag within each image so we can tie it back. It's 24 hours later before you get the grade data. Then you got to go put a tag on it, take another picture, and upload it. So there's just this. That's going to be. I think that's just going to be a lot more efficient moving forward. So that's probably the biggest change. We are updating our dashboard. We right now we have a dashboard up there, as you can see. The picture that I took, it showed all the different plants. That's on our website, and I'm sure there's probably some more coming that just haven't been uncovered yet.
Yep.
It's like everything, when it's a program or it's a new program, you run it for a year or 2 years, and then you start figuring out maybe some barriers or some areas where you can start building some efficiencies in it. And I will tell you, that's one of the areas that we're really looking into, because we understand that this is a cost, and this cost has got to be passed on. And so we're also looking at how can we do it more timely, how can we do it more efficient, and also therefore how can we do all this so that it's more cost effective for the small and very small producers.
Well, let me just add on to that, Jody, and let me remind folks, if you got a question, just type them into the Q&A chat. I'm looking over there. I don't see anything right now, so but put them into the Q&A box, and we'll pass those along. But so ultimately, Jody, what's the vision? What do you want to see ultimately for this program?
Well, I think that, currently we're at 87, and I could see us moving and being well over 100 before the end of the year. Um, you know, I'm all about automation. I'm all about technology. We're moving there in the grading world with several of our other programs with some of the larger plants as well. Anything we can do to make it more efficient, more cost effective, and at the end of the day, bottom line, put money back into the either the processors, the producers, or the packers' pockets, right? And also save the consumer money as well. So I see that we're going to continue to grow. We're looking at some more of the logistical things. Someday I hope that we have a whole team. Right now we have graders scattered across the country that these larger plants, I think it'd be great. This is pie in the sky, but we have graders or we have people located across the different states that are the ones conducting that business locally, not still doing it remote, but building those relationships remotely. Because as Brad said, it costs a lot of money to travel a grader from, Ark City, Kansas, or Amarillo, Texas, to where he's located in southeastern Oklahoma, and there's no good way to get there by motorcycle and mule.
Helicopter.
Yeah. No, we experience that. Well, Chris and I are, working with folks in Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and in December I went to processor that's north of Bangor, Maine, 160 miles north, and I like to say you drove 130 miles to the end of the earth, and then you took a right turn and went another 30 miles to get to his plant. So, to get a grader there is going to be difficult. So, um, so here, someone put in here, how long does it usually take for an application to start up to get processed and certified? And right now, what's the cost per carcass for the remote grading system? So there's sort of two questions in there, Jody. Yep.
So right now, to for an application, you can usually, I tell people, wait at least plan on at least 2 weeks for your 109 application to be processed. And then after that, then someone will get in contact with you. That's yours truly. Will get in contact with you to set up an onboarding or talk to you about onboarding. And then what we try to do to help minimize the cost is, depending on, if we got some other work that's close to that area, we try to couple those trips together so that we can, save or kind of reduce that cost for all parties involved. And then at that time, we will send you a cost estimate of what that onboarding fee would look like. And then after that, there's an SOP, there's some requirements. You got an SOP that you have to create. We require that you submit us a monthly log. So all in all, probably 2 weeks to get your 109. And then I would say two to 4 weeks after that to do onboarding, depending on if we got work in that area.
Right. And cost per carcass, I know you kind of covered that. It's an hourly cost, and it depends on how many carcasses, right?
Yeah, it's an hourly cost, and I think if I was to go back and look right now, and I mean this is including all costs involved, right? All costs involved, probably on an average, we're looking at a little over about $15 carcass. But I go through the data. That's a big wide range. You know, you send one carcass in, we charge you a half an hour. That's $61.50. You send in 5 carcasses, and we charge you a half an hour. You can do the math. It starts cheapening. The more carcasses you send in at a time, the cheaper it is cost per grading submission.
And as Brad was talking earlier, he mentioned, I mean, you can batch those carcasses. If you're aging those carcasses, you don't need to be sending those in right after they go into the cooler, so yeah, they can do that.
Yeah, all we
Just
require is 24-hour chill.
Yep. So and then for folks to start an application, and I know we'll have a QR code at the end here, but talk about how they initiate the process real quick.
Yeah, think the best way to initiate it is reach out to myself, and we'll have a phone conversation. I'll go through a little more detailed of the policies and procedures and what's involved. I'll send you a follow-up email with a 109 application, a cost consideration, a document on cost consideration, an overview of the program, and then you can go out to our website, our web on USDA's. If you go into USDA Agriculture Market Service and you type in remote grading, we have a remote grading website. And there's a couple of videos there that kind of show the process of how images are captured, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the best place to start right there. Either send me an email or just reach out to me, and then we'll get it moving forward.
Somebody just typed in here. Carrie wanted to know that for small plants that are logistically disadvantaged, um, she was told previously in last year that to get onboarded, you also needed to pay the plane ticket if they had to come out. Is that the case, or?
The, the, so all of our costs are submitted. So yeah, you're paying for the plane ticket. But you know what I mean? I mean, we're cost recovery. So all of our costs are, you know, that plane travel is included in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Go
know,
ahead, Brad.
Dave, one thing I'll say to Jody's point, and I'm going to help me out, Jody. The gentleman that came down was from Nebraska. Is I believe Chad's his name.
Chad Nelson.
Yeah, and he was nice enough that, to your point, he'd actually tied 2 or 3 trips together in order to go all the way from Nebraska to the southeastern corner of Oklahoma. Y'all have to realize that we're about 20 miles west of Arkansas and 40 miles north of Texas. So we're in the extreme southeastern corner. So he actually broke it down, and I paid virtually a third of his mileage. Is what I paid, and that helped me out. And he spent a whole day there. We captured images, we did everything. He'd show me how to get onto the cloud, how to submit those. And I'll be honest with you, if I can do this, anybody can do this. Now, one thing I will say, which is this is not a bad thing for me, is that once I collect the images while I'm at the plant, and we have good Wi-Fi there, because once you leave our parking lot, Jody, you don't have a lot of Wi-Fi or phone service. So this has encouraged me. Once I capture them, I go ahead and submit them while I'm there. And then if I'm driving back to Stillwater, Oklahoma, by the time I turn my computer on the next morning, bing, there it is. There's my grade data. And it works out perfectly.
Jody, is that normal? About a 24-hour turnaround time on that data getting back to them?
Yeah, we tell everyone 24 hours. I will say probably one of the areas where we became more efficient is we've decreased that turnaround time significantly by assigning the grading task. And one of the things that I want to also mention too is we've done extensive work. All of our graders, the graders that are viewing this, we're all utilizing the same screen, same technology of screen, same settings, same brightness. We've got our viewing procedures are standardized as well. And one of the things that I like to do when I go out and on board is I like to show them the difference between that screen versus what my regular laptop screen, night and day difference. And so there's another thing that I think is really important that people understand, that because we are applying a USDA grade standard, it's very important that all of our processes throughout that are standardized as well, clear down to the brightness and the contrast of the monitor that we're using and the model number of monitor that we're using.
Good. And Brad, let me ask you, because when you talk about all of that, and you talked about the onboarding, and you mentioned yourself, but do you have to have somebody in the plant specifically trained on that, or is it something that you can have a few people that have the
Yeah.
knowledge on it? Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that at our facility, I like doing this. It gives me a reason to get down there more often. It's very important. The requirements that that from a carcass presentation standpoint, which virtually means things have to be ribbed a certain way, no bone dust, go straight across, perpendicular, not at an ribeye at an angle, clear pictures. It sounds complicated, but it's like a lot of things. It's really not that complicated if you know what you're doing. With that said, I do have a person in the plant that if I need to, I can call Andrew and I can say, hey, listen, I need you to get those four because I'm not going to be able to get down there tomorrow. And again, so I do have somebody internally. I do have Andrew's the one. If I collect the grade data and I get the grade data the next day, I will forward him that information and he'll go ahead and put the tags on the carcasses to designate what particular grade they are going into fabrication. So it doesn't have to be me, but it does have to be somebody that is trained. And again, it's not that hard at all. The other thing too that we have to remember, and we've dropped the ball a couple of times on this and we've had to go back, is that if you want these carcasses to potentially be a grade certified Angus beef, you do have to get a picture of the group of cattle also, live cattle. And you can do that in the holding pen. So if you've got 6 of them that are going to be submitted from one producer, you don't have to have each individual, but you do have to have a picture of the 6. That way Jody and his team know, okay, these cattle are predominantly black. They do meet the criteria for certified Angus beef from an animal, the way they look phenotypically. So again, you have to have one picture of the group and then the individual shots, as Jody was saying, with the ear tags, with the tags on each one of the pictures. So it's really not that hard. And it has saved us a bunch.
Yeah, how long does it take you,
If
personnel in the plant per carcass to?
Yeah, what we have to do, we try to do it just like they would do it in a big plant. So we will go in there and we'll rib the carcasses and expose the ribeye. We'll let that ribeye bloom and turn bright cherry red. You have to do that in a big plant as well. The carcass has to go through that time to let the ribeye turn bright cherry red. And usually what we do at that point, we're in the back making the tags and stuff. We come back about 20 to 30 minutes later, and then we start taking the pictures. I would say I could gather 10 carcasses, get the great information on those 10 carcasses. 30 minutes, I would have it all. So it's not, again, 30 minutes, I can get the grade data, and then it takes another 20 or 30 minutes for me to submit those pictures to my computer, then upload them. So it takes a maximum of an hour for 10 carcasses.
Brad asked a question. I think we answered it as he was sending it in, but yeah, said after the 24-hour chill time, the picture's taken and sent in. How long does the turnaround time? And you were saying you do it in the afternoon and you get the grade the next morning. So
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I see the Jody's put in the the link to the website here for folks that want to get this. Eddie, and you may have addressed this one too, Brad, but he's saying, I'm guessing that misribbed or missplit carcasses would not be eligible.
Right. Yeah, you can't, you have to, carcass presentation has to meet up to what the requirements that the USDA expects out of you. So again, we teach people how to do that correctly as well. And so again, it just takes a little bit of time from a teaching standpoint, but yes, you have to submit clear, legible pictures and rib the carcass correctly.
And Melanie's saying, okay, so what are the qualifications for certified Angus beef? Because I know that that's a different level of certification. I know I work with a plant that's doing that program. So explain that a little bit, Brad.
Let me talk about the certification
Okay.
programs. So I put a link in the chat with all of the beef certification programs. You can go through there and look at those. It outlines all of the live standards and the carcass standards for each one of those programs. The biggest thing is if you are working with a breed association, whether it's certified Angus beef or authentic Wagyu or whatever that may be, and a producer is the certified Angus beef for producers is called ranch or ranch to table, ranch to rail, and so you have to work with that Angus or that breed association and to become an eligible producer for that program, at which time then if you want your carcasses or they want their carcasses certified under that program, then you submit that letter of eligibility from the breed association to us at USDA, and then you put that in your standing your SOP so that our grader knows, and then our grader will certify that animal that you tell us needs to be that is considered, either considered for authentic Wagyu or see the ranch to rail called CAB. Then they will apply those grade standards. At which if they meet that, you'll put a grade as accepted as specified tag along with a grade tag, and those tags are very important. Those grade tags are very important because now all product out of that carcass can be merchandised as graded or certified. Okay. And according, our public law 272, PL 272 is, that's an enforcement rule that ensures the integrity of that USDA grade standard. And so when we come and do that yearly audit that I was talking about, that's one of the things we're going to be looking at. You labeled this carcass choice. What does the cut sheet show? What does the cut sheet show that did it go out the door as choice? How many pounds of that carcass went out the door choice? Hope that answered the question. I want to go back to the missplit and the in the missplit and then misrib. Very clear in our standards how carcasses should be ribbed. When we come and do the onboarding, we will observe your ribbing skills, and then we'll also, if we see things that are maybe not in line with the proper ribbing skills set forth by the beef standards, then we will work with you on that as well. The miss splits are very important because that's the way we assess the age. If they are over 30 months of age, if the inspector deems them over 30 months of age, which has to be also included in that tag so that we can assess the age to make sure that they are a maturity and qualify for, prime choice and select grade.
Yeah. And I kind of blew by a question that Melanie had put in here. I want to go back to it. But she said after the carcass is graded, can you explain the labeling process of the carcass for the retail cuts?
Yeah, so each individual facility might be a little different. Some of them have a scale system that automatically prints their labels, or and so they can work with their inspector and have that wording put in their USDA choice, USDA prime. Once that carcass is graded and you've grade labeled it, you've put the grade tag on it, then that carcass is eligible to be packaged and marketed as graded, whatever that grade is on that carcass. Okay. It's up to you to keep track of those records on that carcass from carcass to retail and out the door. If you have a retail, so like Brad and his folks, they have a retail store. They can market that product that they harvest there at their facility. They can market as choice out there in their retail counter. or if they have a restaurant, if they wanted to and they only wanted to serve, you know, choice you and put on their menu USDA choice ribeyes, then now that they've got the grading, as long as they have the choice product there, then they can do that.
Mhm. Yeah, and
John,
David, back to,
go ahead, Jim.
again, we,
Yep.
we have stickers, and I put one of those stickers, an example of it, in the chat box, and it says It says CAB Ranch to Table, and each one of those packages, when it goes through the packaging machine, we will stick that little 1 inch by 1 inch sticker on each one of those packages, and that way they can merchandise that carcass with that particular mark on it. And we do not just give them the stickers. We actually apply that on that because they may be picking up other carcasses and more meat that particular day, and not all of them were meeting the CAB criteria.
So yeah, trying to meet keep the integrity of the program. Jody,
Right.
I'm going to throw something out of left field for you before we answer the rest of the questions here, because you're talking about, CAB or ranch to table. Um, producers could develop their own uh, program using the process verified program that AMS administers, and speak, maybe some people might want to look at that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options there. We get requests. People want to, you know, they want to have their own certificate or their own brand, whether it's their farm brand or whatever. And so with that, there is a process. You reach out to us again as well, and we work with you on setting up that certification program. Go through what all's in charge or what all's involved in that program as well. So it's still another service that we provide. So definitely, we have that. You can look through there. I mean, there's over 100 different certification programs. Some of them are associated with a breed. Some of them are associated with a brand, whether it's a name, a ranch name, maybe a group of producers' name, et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty wide open.
And I will just say that on our online toolkit, we have a document on claims-based marketing, and it talks a little bit about the process verification program. And I've worked to set up a couple of those through the last few years. So if somebody wants to look at doing that, we're available to assist. Um, One of our folks says, on hourly paying, are you paying for how long it takes for you to take the pictures, how long it takes for you to send X amount of pictures in, or the return time on your grade information?
Okay, so what you're paying, what you are paying for, because you're the one taking the pictures, you're the one uploading the pictures. All you're paying for is the amount of time it takes our grader to grade those photos and to, you know, do the necessary paperwork involved with that grading of those carcasses. So, the assessing the grading, filling out the grade information in our system along with the billing information. So that's what you're paying for on the day to day, that 123 hours per hour, $123 per hour grading fee. Okay. Um, I want to go ahead and, we require the carcasses be chilled 24 hours. And we say that our grade turnaround is within 24 hours. I can tell you that's one area that we've really improved upon. We have folks now that are submitting in the morning, and they're having their grade results by noon. If you send them at night, our grader comes in, they're looking at first thing. I mean, we've got graders that are designated just for this. And that's what their responsibility is. So by doing that, we've really improved our efficiency and our turnaround on those grades.
So and yeah, it kind of answers, I think, Adam's question here, is he says, due to our time zone differences, we'll be sending in our pictures after you're closed. Um, so what kind of a turnaround, would he be able to expect? Yeah.
They're going to be I mean, probably within the next morning, you
Okay.
know. And that's the nice thing about technology.
You bet. So
Well, there
here
was
it
one on
says
producers demographics.
yep, producers demographics expect us to hang the carcass for 10 to 14 days. Is the exception that the carcass are ribbed and presented for grading immediately after the 24-hour chill, or could the carcass be ribbed and graded after the 10 or 14-day hang period?
So we just require 24 hours. As Brad mentioned, a lot of times what he'll do is that they're hanging for 24 or 14 days. They'll wait till they have several head and then rib them and then grade them, knowing that they're going to get that grade data probably back within the next day. So they're only being ribbed, maybe a day, 2 days at the most, maybe over a weekend before they're actually being broke down and fabricated into cuts.
Mhm.
So, you know, whatever's most cost effective for you, that's what we encourage.
And Melanie's asking, so is this program available for state inspected plants?
Yes,
Yeah. So yeah, it's not limited to USDA inspected. Um,
right.
so yeah, so we're getting here close. So if you have any other questions, type them in here real quick. Otherwise, I'm going to let Jody and Brad kind of wrap up. So Brad, what would you like to add that we haven't covered yet here today?
I only thing I would say is this, Dave, is that this is just another thing that we can put like another feather in our cap that our little plant can offer. Uh, and a lot of the producers that come in, we'll ask them when they bring in that animal, do you want your carcasses graded? And then of course they'll say, now what does that mean? And again, that's good. That means that, part of what we try to do is an educational component to producers. So we have a one pager that talks about quality grading and how marbling and tenderness and eating satisfaction. It's in layman's terms, and it's a one pager, and it's got a bunch of pictures. And if they do want that information, in other words, we just check the box on the cutting sheet, and that way we know it needs to go on the list of carcasses to be graded. The other thing that we're doing, and it's been received very well, and that we've had to take about a year's worth of data now, and we're bringing in all of the Choctaw Nation beef cattle producers, and we're bringing them to Three Rivers. We're having a little program to talk about their carcasses, talk about if they have questions about breeding decisions or what can I do or what should I do, those types of things. And then the other thing we do also is we take them back in the back and let them see carcasses. You'd be surprised the number of people that have raised beef cattle for 50 years, and shame on us, Jody, for telling them, don't give them a shot in the top butt. And they look at you like, well, I don't want to ask where the top butt's at. We can go in there now and say, here's a carcass, here's the top sirloin, here's the top butt. That's where we used to give a lot of shots. Again, and then after we're done, we'll feed them all a cheeseburger in a little restaurant, and everyone's happy. So again, we've used this as a service. We've used this for breeding decisions. Used this for producer education, and we feel like we get a big bang for our buck investing in this program.
Great. Jody?
Well, I guess first off, I just want to thank Dr. Morgan and Three Rivers and their partnership with us and with the remote grading program and him being willing to come on and be part of this today. Thank you, Dave, for asking us to kind of shed a little bit of light on the remote grading. I just want to encourage everyone to, take a look at it. The biggest thing that this program was designed to do was to help add value and help facilitate marketing of beef products. And you can go to USDA and you can read our mission statement, and And that is the core and the fiber of our mission statement is to provide marketing opportunities for U.S. producers. And we, through this technology advancement, outside of the box thinking, forward thinking, livestock and poultry programs is doing exactly that. And so if you want to learn more, please reach out. Feel free. Send me an email, give me a call, whatever, and we can discuss in detail.
Well, and I would think that Jody, as you get more plants coming on board, that then it's a critical mass. The cost per plant is going to go down in terms of onboarding and the annual. As those graders can split their time. You can see here, this is the contact information for both Jody and Brad, as well as that QR code will take you right to USDA's remote grading program for beef site. So you can get started there. And of course, Chris Roper and myself, we're available to help you out as you go through this with anything. We keep saying that for smaller plants, diversification and adding value is critical to success. And the remote beef grading program is a huge, huge opportunity, not only to take products, differentiated products into the market, but to work with your producers to have more consistent quality. 80% of the quality of meat happens before that animal ever steps inside of a plant. And so this is a great tool. Yes, answering the last question here, the presentation slides will be available. We'll actually be archiving this whole recording on our website. And so those slides are in there, as well as Jody and Brad's contact information. And just remember, you'll be getting a 2-question survey. We'd like to get your feedback on that. 2 roundtables that we have coming up here in the next month. We're working to get this one finalized, is on freeze-dried opportunities for smaller plants. A lot of plants are doing pet products, but even doing things like freeze-dried bone broth and the like. And so we have a couple of folks that have got some experience in that will be joining us. We're trying to get the date nailed down. And then after that, we're going to have a roundtable on managing my grant. A lot of folks that end up getting a MPAP or an MCAP or another USDA grant, they get the grant and then it's, oh my God, what do I do now? How do I manage this? What's the record keeping requirements? So we're going to be having that coming up in early March. So please stay tuned on that. And again, I just want to thank Jody and Brad, both of you. This has been a wealth of information you've shared today. So thank you for your time. And Jody, that picture behind you is making me hungry. So as soon as I get off of my next webinar, I'm ready for lunch. So thank you both, and everybody have a great day. Take care.
Thank you very much.